time is it? 2023? Must be time for a game room tour. Ah! Fuck machine! I'll clean up and give you a tour. Now that we're all sorted, let's take a look around. Doing this a little bit differently this time, so I'll be behind the camera. This is the last time that you'll see me, and I'm just going to talk about things as we go through them. Let's go. So let's start with a pan around the room. I'll try and kind of hit as much of the room as possible to begin with, so that you can see how big it is. Not a very big space that I'm dealing with here. It is a separated game room from the house. It is primarily used for a game room, but it also holds some other stuff in it as well. As I go through the tour, I'll try and touch on as much as I can about the setup, why it is set up this way, and what goes where and why, and how I've got things operating for use with the family and use of people who pop over for a visit as well. All right, let's get to it. So we'll just make our way from the door over. Yeah, got a new rug. Really like the look of that one with the carpet that I've got going on in here. And as you saw before, we've got a couch. It is one of those click-clack couches that clicks down at the back. And then we get into probably my favorite features of the game room, which is, I'll step back and show it to you, the 4 arcade machines at the back. They're probably the thing, apart from bringing in, say, an Xbox console or things for use on the TV. These are the things that get used the most in the game room in terms of video games. Let's go and take a closer look at those as well. I'll just give you a little shot of the wall. So that goes up into there, and I've got a shelf up the top here which has, oh sorry about my finger off, I chopped it while chopping some wood. It's got a bunch of PC games, and probably one of the only boxes that I have, one of the only console type box things that I have, plus the minis. So the Wii U box up there, and then a picture of Mad Max, and it's got the disco ball and a few lights and things up there with the new addition of the smoke machine. I love having a smoke machine. It's something that I've wanted for ages, just for the kids. Great fun when put on the disco ball, put the smoke machine on, and you can actually see the disco lights through the air as well. Okay, it doesn't show up well on camera, so I won't show it. Here is the first machine that we have. So this is a cabinet that I bought off eBay very cheap years ago, and it was sitting in storage for a while because it used to hold a Dreamcast in it. Apparently it was a custom made arcade machine, so it is not one that is from any other type of dedicated arcade hardware. It is a custom made rig, and it just had the car seat in there, which I threw away. I cleaned it up, but I've put a car seat cover over, and then I've taken the Dreamcast out, which died on the very first day that I had it, traveling back from the place where I bought it to home. So I stayed in storage for a while, and then I've changed it over with an Xbox 360. So it's got the Xbox 360 wheel in there. I wanted it to be a Daytona machine, but instead of doing just an arcade Daytona machine, what I've done is I've rigged it up for the Xbox so that I can emulate Daytona USA, because you can just buy that off the store. I printed off the marquee there, and I've carpeted it and things and cleaned it up, and then it is ready to go. This Xbox 360 wheel is the official Microsoft one. It has force feedback in it, so you have to have force feedback with Daytona USA if you're going to have one of these rigs. So that is exactly what I went for. This also plays any of the games that you get, obviously that you buy off the marketplace, but then I've got all my Xbox 360 racing games as well. The reason why I've decided to go for this instead of having one of the newer consoles or upgrading it at this point in time excuse me, is because The Xbox 360, you can put it into offline mode and the games are ready to go straight away. Whereas if you have something newer than that, an Xbox One onwards, it wants to be, pretty much needs to be on the internet all the time. Every time you go into a game, it's going to want either that game updated or it needs it to be updating automatically and connected to the internet, and that is something that I really did not want. So this is the setup that I have instead. I'd much prefer being able to switch it on and it's ready to go rather than have to wait for updates and things like that. Okay, well, I'll come back to this one and let's move over to the Time Crisis 2 arcade. I've snugly fit these 4 in. So this one, again, it is not a dedicated Time Crisis 2 machine, but I wanted a setup that had a Daytona style driving sim, a cabinet that played 4 players, and it has guns on it as well, which I'll show you later. I wanted a gun machine that had Time Crisis 2, and this is just really a bonus over here. So these 3 is what I would consider the ultimate kind of setup if you're emulating things. They're the types of machines that really are going to cover almost everything that you could want to play. So Time Crisis 2 here is actually a PlayStation 2 machine in there with a Wii as well, so that I can play PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 and Wii light gun shooters. It is the only screen in here that is running from a CRT. CRTs are just so big and bulky and I really have no space for them, which means I have no time for them either. This one was essential because otherwise I can't run the PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 light gun machines or games, so it had to be a CRT in there, and that is the only one that I have. If I had a bigger setup, maybe, but yeah, definitely I like LCD better. So got this printed off. I just took it into a printing store, printed it off, put the screen and things in, and then I've got a few different guns because they can be a bit hard to find, but also because different games in the PlayStation era need different guns. The G-Con 2 is a PlayStation 2, where is it G-Con 1? It's a Namco, I do believe it is. Anyway, the Namco, I think that is a G-Con 1 that can only play with certain PlayStation 2, I think, but it needs to be that for the PlayStation 1 rather than the G-Con 2. And then I've got a third party one here with the force, it is force feedback, but it's a recoil, which is really pretty hopeless because it doesn't recoil at the correct times. So a bit of a bummer, but they're hard to find cheaper ones that actually do recoil one shot per trigger pulled. Then I have a pedal here that is made out of something like a sewing machine pedal that I've rigged up. I have an old video of that, but I've rigged that up from an old PlayStation controller to the pedal, which can then be used to play pedal games with the like Time Crisis 1, 2 and all those type of things. So that is how I get the pedal action going there. Here I have PlayStation 1 and the Wii, and then it's got some storage space underneath where you can put all your guns and things like that as well. So that's pretty handy, even though it gets jammed. It is a handy little storage space in there. I have an overview of this cabinet on my channel, which you can check out if you're interested in that. I'll just leave that pedal there for now. Okay, moving over to the World Rally. The World Rally is an arcade machine that had kind of growing up, that because my parents owned a caravan park at the when I was younger, and they had this machine in there, which was the World Rally arcade machine. It only has the 2 gears. It is made by Gottlieb. Oh, it's not made. I don't know actually if it's made by them, but it is distributed by Gottlieb in Australia. But I think it might also be one that comes under the Atari name elsewhere, I think. Yeah, it's a bit of an oddity. This one is just a generic cabinet as well, so generic piece that you can take that one off and you can kind of put any racing game that you like in there. They made these World Rally machines so that they could be put into different setups. They sold a lot of conversion kits for this board. It's an alright game, but it has its limitations. You just go around the little map, and it's really, you could play it with a joystick as well as you can play it with the steering wheel. But it is fun. Yeah. Let's go over. Got a stack of stools here for people when they come, and the two comfier ones that sit at the arcade machine that I have here. This one, that's a bit of a custom. I'll get the lighting right. It's a bit of a custom marquee. I've just taken the Super Nintendo Final Fight, and actually I don't know if that is the Super Nintendo one, but I've taken the Super Nintendo Final Fight, what would you call that, the people that were on the cover, or the characters, and kind of split it and tried to get the blue to match in with the blue of the arcade machine, and it does an alright job. It looks a little bit different. No, it doesn't. I shouldn't complain. It does a pretty good job. So I kind of styled that myself. And then this is a 4-player arcade machine that runs off a Windows 7 PC. So I've just got the stools away now. It also has 2 arcade guns that I've put on the side. So one red, and on the other side I have a blue. And they just hang a couple of hooks that I put there. But if I pop this one open, ruin the magic. Yeah, there's a PC inside, so it's got a couple of hard drives. It runs off old tech, and when it has its issues, there's been a few times I've thought about changing it over, but it keeps going. So while it continues to run, I won't be changing it over. Right, this arcade here is a Gottlieb Australian cabinet that you won't find in many other places. There it is there. And it is also the distributor, as I said, of this World Rally over here. So it is a pretty unique cab in not in its design, but in its distribution. You find these around Australia quite a fair bit, but they are becoming more and more expensive because they are really actually nice cabinets. They're really well made, and they're just ones that are fetching more and more money as time goes by. So I was lucky to be able to pick up this one for around $250. Must have been almost 10 years ago. And yeah, it had 2 control, it already had 3 control sticks and all the buttons put in, but I put an extra 3 down for the player 1 and player 2 in the middle there. The displays, what front end? This is Maximus front end. It's got all your arcade classics and all your arcade games on there, as well as having the Coax emulator, which is your Neo Geos, Sega Model 2 emulator. I've got a couple of PC games there that work with the light guns, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Master System, Mega Drive, which is obviously the Genesis there, and the Turbo Graphics. But yeah, set up really nicely with those arcade guns. The arcade guns that I use, so they are called, that's the brand name, Arcade Guns, and they work off a same type of technology as the Wii. So you can see the sensor bar back there, and on the camera you can see the sensors lit up, but in real life you cannot see those. That's just something that the camera picks up. Okay, let's move on. Up the top of the arcade cabinet I've got my PC games, or classic PC games, and just a Mad Max VHS clamshell there that does not have a VHS in it. It had been thrown away, I suppose. with Mad Max up there as well. And then some big box titles. Got Ash from Evil Dead over there. That's a limited edition statue, which doesn't mean that there is a limited number. Well, it means there's a limited number, but it was a fair few thousand, I'm pretty sure. There we go, it's an Orion Pictures Corporation statue. Got that one cheap years ago because he has a broken finger. There we go. He's got a little broken finger there, which meant that it come a bit cheaper. I'm not really into statues and things. And I don't like boxes either, so I've got the Wii U one there because I like the way it looks, but I really don't like the way most console boxes look, so I don't have many. Alright, pulling around from the arcade machines. CD player is a must. I love having old CDs, and then I just have a little bit here that holds remotes and other things as well. It's got my retro Tink, is that what they're called? Let's have a little look. Yeah, I've got my retro Tink 2X in there mostly for the sake of the Nintendo 64. So to get that line doubling to make it a little bit cleaner. And then I've got my disco ball remote there and the Xbox 360 on top. A lot of times we'll bring out the Xbox One, Xbox Series S and pop it here and play games as well, but it's not there at the moment. That's other times it's in the house. Have my bookshelf here. It's got my wife's books, a few of hers as well, but yeah, just a selection of things. What else do we have here? So TV setup, I'm not sure how many inches it is. It's not very many, but it needed to fit the space. Everything that you kind of see around in the game room is there for a purpose, in terms of space and money and all that type of thing as well. Alright, moving on from the TV area, underneath we have turntable for vinyl records there. It's just an LP60. And underneath, recently I found one of these stereographic equalizers. So I did not realize how much of a difference these little equalizers make until I found this one for $2 at the op shop. And yeah, it makes a big difference to sound. So I'm really enjoying having that. The old snake in the jar. Okay, I don't collect Xbox One at all. They're just the ones that we have bought to play, and if it's worth any money, try and get rid of them. They are basically glorified coasters if you've got these, apart from being able to sell them, which is great. Because the full games really are not on the disc very much at all, they're not worth keeping around. So if you can make a bit of money out of them, great, but otherwise we move them on. They're not worth keeping. Just got a few DVDs up there to watch with the kids and CD piles as well. I'll try and keep my Australian CDs separate to my others as well. Okay. Moving to the back of the room, so I'll just step back and show you that. So this is the back corner of the room. It's kind of where you would come in the front door and take a left turn. Right, coming across to this shelf, this is where I keep my NES games. I'll just go through some notable titles, so I'll show you as we go. So I've got a Die Hard up in there, which is one of my more notable titles for my... Oh, I don't know, even Blue Shadow is something. Is that Shadow of the Ninja overseas? Getting up there in price as well, I think. But they're my cartridge only. I've got a... This actually is worth quite a bit of money, which is silly. But I've got a Game & Watch Lifeboat from when I was a kid. Yeah, fully boxed there. HES was an Australian distributor of Nintendo games, so this one's a bit of an oddity. That's worth a look at some stage. But they piggybacked off a genuine cartridge and then had their own kind of games on there, or took games from elsewhere to distribute in this really strange way on the NES in Australia. What else? NES box titles. Real Ghost, or the new Ghostbusters 2, sorry. Not real, the new. And some other bigger ones. Gargoyles Quest 2 there. That's got a chewed up box. I bought that game. I remember buying that game late in the NES release. It was well and truly when the Super Nintendo came out, for $5 in a shop, fully boxed, and had that for years, and then sold it with all my other stuff, as we all do. Super Nintendo Love Doom. Oh, that's, yeah, it's all over the place as well. What else have we got here? Solstice, Snake Rattle and Roll on the NES. Power Blade up there. Super Nintendo, this one, put down Robocop there. This one is a bit of a strange one, worth pointing out as well, I think. One that you don't see very often in anywhere but the UK, I suppose. So it's the Super Mario All-Stars with and Super Mario World boxed. Yeah, as I said, normally these two do not come together in the box. It's not as common to find that one boxed with a manual and everything. So that's one that I actually paid up for years ago. There's not many games here that I paid a lot of money for, but that one I think was about $180 or so. What else do we have in here? I primarily have the GameCube for the Resident Evil titles. So I've got number 0, number 1, 2, 3, 4. Not even in order, sorry. Code Veronica. Yeah, nothing is normally in too much of an order in this game room. You might be getting that vibe. Down to the PS2 light gun shooters for the light gun arcade. Apart from the couple that are actually in there at the moment, there they are. And one's for the Wii. A few books and things, and my records. Don't buy many new records. Only got a couple of new ones. The rest are just from op shops and markets. Might go through those some other time on camera. I don't think there's... yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. So, car racing for the 360. There are a heap, actually. And for the original Xbox. There are a heap of good ones on there, which is really nice. Yeah, it's nice to be able to chuck out one and put in another one that's just as good. I've got a couple of PlayStation 1 shooting games as well, like Gun Shooters, Time Crisis Point Blank 2, Time Crisis Project Titan, and Gunfighter. And a couple more Wii light gun games with my Xbox 360 Kinect, which does not get enough love. That setup was great, I thought, with a few of the games that it had on there, but yeah, it's not well liked. A few retro game magazines and gaming books here. Try not to get too many gaming books, they just take up space and hardly ever get used. And then it goes on to the 360. Some of the more noteworthy titles from here, I suppose, would be... let's see. Painkiller, Hell and Damnation is one that goes for a bit of money these days. I'm probably missing a few, but there's a few strange ones like Killer is Dead there. I think that might be one that's a bit more notable. Silent Hill HD collection is one that's... and the Metal Gear Solid collection. They're not super expensive, but they are ones that if you're out there that you should be looking for if you can find them cheap. Deadly Premonition, great game. Finally getting a lot of love, which is terrific. A lot of YouTube videos about that one these days. What else in there? Oh yeah, the Silent Hill games. I've got Homecoming there, and the one that's really going for some money these days, the Silent Hill, is the other one. That what is it called? Down something? Downpour. There it is, up there. So Downpour, that one's an expensive one as well. Okay, let's travel down. I've got a few old Nintendo magazine system. Some of them are worse for wear, that one's lost the cover. Got these off a mate of mine. They were from his childhood. I remember having a couple. Oh, just had a little huntsman up there. You can see his eyes. There he goes. Choose your game at your own peril. What have we got here in the Xbox collection down here? Got a few notable titles as well. Manhunt is one that is banned in Australia, actually. Yeah, it came out for a little while and then it got banned in Australia. Silent Hill 2, that's a more memorable one. Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth is a more memorable one. Bethesda. What else in there? No other really big ones, I don't think. I tend to sell if I get anything super big, like I had, what's the name of it? Stubbs the Zombie at one stage and things like that. I tend to sell them off. If I played them and I don't really enjoy them very much, try and sell them off. The Wii console with the Wii U. Nothing too out of the ordinary there, except Australia and the UK got Project Zero, made in Blackwater, where America did not, which made that one an expensive title. That's gone up over 200 Australian dollars, which is a bit ridiculous. And it's not even like it's rare. You see it for sale for a massive amount a lot. So it's not like there's not many out there. It's just an artificial inflation, I think, because it's not in America. The Wii. I only have Wii games that I am willing to play, like anything that I collect. If I'm not planning on ever using it, then it goes, which some of this will have to go as well. Now that I look at it, I'm like, I'll probably never get to that. And then, over in the drawers, there's not a great deal to see, except it is where I hold consoles. So I don't even know what's in there. I'd have to dig around and find them. But there's the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo, the GameCube, the original Xbox, the Nintendo 64, those type of things in there, with controllers and other bits and pieces, all the Wii bits and pieces. Last little bit that I will show is just tucked away here. I've got some goodies. I'm just taking out some of my cartridges from this box. I hide them away because people who generally come to play in this space do not normally care about these old cartridge items as much as I do. So I tend to keep them hidden away and only bring them out when I'm actually wanting to play them. The Nintendo 64 I play on the LCD screen, but I have a retro tint which kind of cleans things up a bit. I liked my first person shooters on there, so I've got a few of those. I'm just going to show you some notable ones there. Quake 2 and Hexen, and I've got Quake 1 and Doom 64 and things. This one you don't see as much. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, that is the original version, or the normal version, not the collector's piece that has the lenticular label. Also got there Mystical Ninja 2. It's got a faded label, but that one, it goes for a pretty penny in good quality, cartridge only these days. More people are looking for this one as well, Fighting Force. This one's a real mess, but I don't really care as long as I've got the game to play. That one I got cheap because it was a mess, and now it is creeping up in price and more highly sought after as well. A Tremor pack. Okay. Notable. Let's see what else we have here. I've got the Super Nintendo version of Battletoads and Double Dragon there, except the pins, whoever sold them to me, did a dodgy to me and sold me them with dodgy pins. So I've resoldered those lines and now it works. Never did when I first had it. Final Fight. That one is one that goes for a lot in Australia as well. Had that one with the box as a kid. Bought it from my local video rental store. Sold it all off. Demon's Crest. So I've got to get onto that. I've played the other two games in the series, the Gargoyles Quest games, but I have not played too much of that one yet. That is a legit copy, it's not a fake one. Harvest Moon, a bit of label damage there, but that's another one in Australia that is a highly sought after one. They're going for silly money these days, but I bought those two for a fair bit as well back in the day. It's not like I didn't pay very much. I think Harvest Moon I paid about 125, and Demon's Crest I think was about 160. It's one of the most expensive games that I bought, and I would not do that again. I don't spend that type of money anymore. Not that I did very much back in the day either. It's only on a few different items that I got carried away with. I almost skipped over my Game Boy stuff. I have a Game Boy Advance here. It's got a backlight in it. It's a modified one. I really enjoy that one. I don't spend enough time playing my Game Boy. There's a Game Boy Color. I've got the old Game Boy in there somewhere. I've got another box one as well. Oh, you just kind of accumulate these things. Okay, so let's have a little look at some notables here. So Double Dragon Advance, that one is an Atlas title. That is the best Double Dragon title that has been made, in my opinion. Great game, that one. We've got this weird one. So that's a China only, a Chinese game, or a Chinese release I should say, that has Adventure Island 2. What's that? Is that Mylon's Magic Castle or something like that, I think? It's got a Bomberman, not a Bomberman, a Bonk title, and a Bomberman title as well. So 4 in 1 there. That is one that is a bit of an oddity, I imagine. There's it's not shown very much. Castlevania Legends is one that has gone up in price. That is, what's this one? Is this an Australian? No, that's a European copy of that one. But I've got the Battle of Olympus is one that you do not see very often. It looks to be almost a one-to-one port of the Battle of Olympus game, but just downgraded graphics and things for the Game Boy. Konami collection there. Those are pretty cool. I've got the River King in this one. Legend of the River King. That's one that you don't see as often. There is Stranded Kids, which I did not pay $25 for. I actually paid $20. But yeah, that's a fair bit of an expensive one these days. The person knew what they had, but I don't think they realised how much the price had gone up since they... Yeah, because it was much more expensive than the other stuff that they were selling, but they gave it to me for a great price. Yeah, and then got some other things, Shadow Warriors, which is Ninja Gaiden, all those types of things as well. Yeah, didn't want to miss out on this, so I've just added it in here as well. Oh, you got the VB vending machine there. So that is a beer in Australia. You push the button, it used to play the theme tune, so the actual VB theme tune, and then you can pop those out because they are on rails. Which I've got a few stacked in there, but I've got some other stuff in there as well. I'll just pop that back in there. Right, that was the tour of the Gameroom 2023. Stuff that I didn't say at the start. All of this has been bought with money that I have purchased things and sold them and used the profits to buy these things. That is all except for that. I spent about 550 real money on that and have never paid it back. And the rest is stuff that I paid back to the family and made sure that it hasn't cost us. So I just keep a little tally of that. I think I'm down $43 at the moment, and then I'll sell some stuff and then I'll be back to zero or back to profit and continue selling and buying and selling and adding to the room. That is how I do it. It is not the way that everyone should do it. I'm not saying that. It's just the way that I have done it. This space is a space that I let my whole family enjoy all the time. So I've got 3 young kids and they are allowed in here at any stage. It's not something that I keep tucked away. They play with the whole bunch. They wreck a whole bunch of things, and that's just part and parcel with it. That's part of the fun. If you want to have the fun of playing these things with your family, then you've got to expect things to break as well. I'm not one that is worried about that. I know that that's not how everybody has it, and that is absolutely fine, but it's how I do it. I probably wouldn't spend as much time buying and selling again. It is not something that I have the time for these days, so it is only little things that I collect. I have what I want in terms of cartridges and things like that. There's not many that I would go out and seek, especially now that I've got the mini consoles, and the cartridge-based stuff just gets a whole lot less use than the arcades, than the newer game consoles. I'm happy for a digital future. This type of stuff to manufacture and get out to places is a bit of a ridiculous waste of things these days when we can do it all online. Couldn't do it before. Couldn't do all this online, and it wasn't just viable. And when I buy this type of stuff, it's already pre-used, so it's already been manufactured. But really, I'm really happy with a digital future with this type of stuff. I love collecting these old things, but I am not one who is a purist who thinks that everything should come with a manual and a map and all that type of thing. It's not something that I'd be willing to argue with anyone about either. It's different for each person, how you collect, what you like, what you don't like. It's all up to you. Hopefully get some ideas from this one. Hopefully you can take away a few things and use them in yours, or you can ask some questions about the way I've got things, and you two can set up some things based on how you like them, rather than going with just the trends that are around. Do things how you like. That is how you will get the most use out of what you have and your space that you might have. It's been fun making this video. It's been fun doing something on YouTube. It hasn't been done in a while, but there are a few videos that I want to make and a few things that hopefully put out in the future as well. So thanks for joining me on the tour. If you have any questions about anything that you see here, pop them in down below. If you have any interest in this type of stuff, then maybe go and check out some of my other videos as well.